What's going on, guys? It's Zoko, and today I have a new money-making guide for ESO. We are going over a list of 13 alchemy ingredients you can sell to really increase your income. Before jumping into it, you probably think you know what I'm about to say, and you would be right. But you should subscribe and hit that like button down below because I am putting out ESO content a few times a week. Now, I do play some other RPGs, so if you just like RPGs in general, it's a good bet to stay up to date with what I got coming out. I promise. Let's get to it. Now, everything we go over today is from the perspective of selling using a guild trader. If you don't have one of your 5 guild slots filled with at least one guild that has a trader, I implore you to do your best to find one, preferably one without dues to start, or spearhead the movement within one of your own guilds to try and get one. It does help to have a high traffic one, but thanks to websites like Tamriel Trade Center, you can pull people towards your more random location traders with good enough deals. Before I start the list, I want to mention a couple things. First and foremost, I am going over the ingredients prices from a single piece and then going over a full 200 stack. I don't really recommend always selling at a full stack. You may find better success at like 40 or 50. Obviously, if you can push out 200, then go for it. But don't take this list as that is how it has to go out. It's more to illustrate the potential profit. Also, every price I do go over will be on the low end for what I see at the Tamriel Trade Center website, so please understand that. Regarding the list itself, the last few ingredients require DLCs to get, but most of this list will be applicable to anyone with the base game. And honestly, I use mostly base game stuff when selling myself. The list is also in no particular order, and Reagents weren't only picked because they were expensive. I picked some Reagents because I had a good history of moving that as a product. This is my take on what works. Things can always differ for you. Alright, here we go. First up, we gotta go over Lorkhan's tiers. Being the base for every single potion out there, it only makes sense that there is demand for this, and always will be unless they add something a step up from CP 160. You can find this ingredient along the edge of any water source, but whether it's Lorkhan's tier specifically will depend on a couple facts to include your level and solvent proficiency level within the alchemy tree. Now, I have this listed not because it is expensive, but because it sells so well. Stacks of 200 are only 4 or 5k gold, but people will buy them up at every point in the day. For the first region, we have cornflower. This is one of the biggest money-making regions in the game. This blue flower is not just expensive, coming in at around 500 or 600 gold a piece, it's also easy to spot from a distance. Very sought after because of its use in those extremely powerful spell power potions. A stack of 200 priced at 500 a piece goes for a very respectable 100k. This has been one of the hardest regions to find ever for me. I feel like I see it all the time, but the second I need it for a video, I can't find it anywhere. Anyways, it's important to cover those stamina classes too. Having some Blessed Thistle on hand for those trying to make some weapon power pots is a nice addition to any trader. I know my Nightblade has bought quite a few of the ingredients for those potions over time. These leaves bring in about 200 gold a piece, and selling a complete stack gives you another 40k. Another pretty expensive regent, Columbine, comes in next with a single flower cost of 350 gold. Although it's usually a bit harder to spot, it does get easier when you focus on looking for the drooping red bulbs. This regent is usually in high demand because of its use in every combination of the popular tri-stat potions. A stack of 200 brings us a sweet 70k. Now we move on to some regents we get from enemies. Beetle Scuttle can be farmed from assassin beetles, thunderbugs, and shulk. You can rarely get it from ordinary beetles too, but nobody is going to use that as a consistent source. The price of this one is honestly fairly split. I see half of the people selling it for around 150 and the other half going for about 250. So assuming you can successfully push both amounts, those prices will get you 30k and 50k at a full 200 stack. Now we have our seaside crustacean friends, the mudcrabs, for their chitin. And it's chitin, not chitin. Mudcrab chitin goes for a pretty nice amount of gold, around 400 a piece at the time of this recording. The nice thing about farming mudcrabs is you also get some leather scraps from them too, so you can make a pretty nice profit from it. A stack of this ingredient you can expect to get you about 80k. And I am not chitting you. I'm a terrible person for that. Next up, we got butterfly wings, which are gathered on occasion from any butterfly you see fluttering around Tamriel. Coming in at a modest 100 gold apiece, they're not a bad choice to pad your trader. I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to gather these at their current price point, but if you're passing, why not? Pushing out a stack of these will increase your worth by 20,000 gold. The better of the bug regents is going to be the Torchbug Thorax. Each thorax is usually priced around 500 gold, which makes it a very nice thing to be able to sell. Gathered in similar fashion to the butterfly, simply pressing your use key when on top of one of the insects should open up a loot window with some insects for fishing, and if you're lucky, one of these expensive ingredients. Selling a full stack will bump you a fat 100k gold. Moving on brings us to Lady Smock, priced individually at only 200 gold. This is another low cost regent that isn't bad to have as an option within your trader because of its use in the widely used spell power potions. It can be hard to spot when getting started, but once you get used to seeing the white flowers, it shouldn't be a problem for you in the future. Turning a stack will get you around 40,000 gold. Next, we move on to Nightshade. This poisonous plant has both the protection trait and defile trait, which probably causes it to have such a decent price. It brings us 200 gold apiece on the low end, and quite a few sellers have it north of 300 actually. You should be looking to take in at least 40,000 gold if you can sell a stack. Now we move on to some of the regions from the DLCs, which, while a significantly increased value, comes at the price of it usually being a bit harder to obtain, through either a tough fight or just simply more rare. The first one we will be covering is Dragon's Blood. The process of harvesting this ingredient is, unsurprisingly, killing dragons in northern and southern elsewhere. Individually, this item can bring you 1,000 gold, and being able to push out a stack somehow can bump you a monstrous 200,000. But nothing compares so far to this next one. So I had this whole plan to continue the flow of this video by finding the regent, getting the drop, and then casually running away from it to fade to black. But I cannot, for the life of me, find these giant clams. I ran around a full hour this morning and have yet to run into one, and I even used some map that someone had used to mark some spots. But whatever, I'm doing the segment anyway. Released with its Somerset DLC and only gatherable from giant clams up and down its beaches, the ingredients of clam gall and powdered mother of pearl are some of the most expensive regents in the game. Looting even one of these bumps you a ridiculous 6k, and if you are able to extort some Tamriel millionaire by selling a full stack, it can bring you 1.2 million gold. And considering what it takes to get even one of these, if you have the thought of grinding out 200, do this instead. Open up a drawer and stick your hand inside, and then slam it closed. I promise you that is a better use of your time. Now all that is pretty crazy, right? But not everyone wants to sell their ingredients. Some people want to make potions instead, because it does increase your profit margins a bit, if you have the passives to increase the amount of potions made per craft. So if that's you, make sure to click this coming up right now. It's a great video that goes over some of the best potions to sell if you're trying to bring in that gold. Thanks for watching.